What's up, you guys? How y'all doing? I've returned for another video, and this is actually the most recent news in Monster Energy Supercross away from the track. And before I get to that, guys, just remember, subscribe. That's how this channel grows. I want to keep my monetization status, and the only way I can do that is with your help. And I would very much like it if you would keep subscribe, if you would find some other people who think that I'm worth listening to. I appreciate it. But in the meantime, let's get into this. I'm going to put up my banner here. That's right. Adam Cianciarulo to retire after 24th Supercross season. And I got to tell you, while I'm a little disappointed that this is reality, that this reality or I should say this news is becoming reality, I have to admit that I'm not surprised one bit. Why? Because of how many times that Cianciarulo has gotten hurt. The guy was a hot prospect out of the amateur ranks for Team Green Kawasaki, and he did what Ryan Villopoto did during his whole pro career. He stayed with Kawasaki from beginning to end. Villopoto then became a three-time motocross champ. He could have had back-to-back Supercross titles in 06 and 06, or I should say 07 and 08. But unfortunately, Trey Canard ruined that with sliding into Villopoto at the finish line jump at St. Louis. Nobody's going to forget that. I mean, but Villopoto didn't let that stand in his way. And he went on to win 4 straight titles in the 450 class in Supercross. And I believe he won 2 titles outdoors. But of course, a couple times, Villopoto had to skip the motocross seasons due to injuries. Okay? But as for Adam Cianciarulo, that kid missed races left and right. And there was a time where I was thinking that Kawasaki might be losing some patience with him. Why? Because of how many times he's been relegated to the sidelines. But how many of us knew that Cianciarulo was fighting that nerve damage problem even when he was a 250 rider? The guy was doing so good in 250s, and then to have injuries just kind of stand in his way, it's almost like winning a comeback award repeatedly. You know? And while I was hoping that Cianciarulo would realize his full potential, which to a point he did, and the guy was fast, make no mistake. He's got 1 motocross title to his credit. He won the 2019 motocross title in the 250 class just months after losing the West title in Supercross in Las Vegas because of a mechanical problem. And on top of that, Austin Forkner was leading the East Series, and then an injury forced him to surrender his title. So that was pretty disappointing for Mitch Payton. I certainly didn't want to be him that night in Vegas, because that had to have been one of the worst nights ever if you're in the Pro Circuit Kawasaki tent. But I was glad to see that Cianciarulo won the motocross title. For a lot of guys, that certainly would have spelled a disastrous end to their career, and you could kind of see the ending in sight. I mean, look at what happened to Brock Sellers in 2000 when he almost won the 125 East title. But the problem there was that in 2000, Sellers did not win a race at all. He had 6 second-place finishes and 2 fourth places, but never a win. Stefan Riccata, who won the title, won 4 times, including 2 in a row. Travis Pastrana won 2 races, and Michael Brandis and Ernesto Fonseca won the other 2 that year in 2000. I remember that vividly because 2000 was one of my favorite years in following the sport for 27 years, okay? But as far as Cianciarulo is concerned, I was really thinking that he was going to come into his own sooner or later. But who could forget in 2019 when he won the Monster Energy Cup And who would have thought that 2019 would be the last time that the Monster Energy Cup would be run? Because in 2020, y'all know it was canceled because of the pandemic. And it did not run in 2021 again because of the pandemic. But I think after that, the Monster Energy Cup had kind of worn out its welcome, which was unfortunate too, because it was one weekend in October. It was a time for everybody to see where they were at. Just like a non-conference game in college sports. It's always good to know where you're at. And everybody kind of saw where they were at least those that raced. And Adam Cianciarulo won that. And who could forget him withstanding all that heat from Eli Tomac, his teammate at the time at Kawasaki? Did I think he could hold him off? If he got to the sand section perfectly, I thought he should hold him off. And sure enough, he did. And while I was proud of Adam Cianciarulo for winning the Monster Energy Cup, there was still a part of me that felt that Cianciarulo still had a learning curve, but he was ready. Okay? But I didn't think that learning curve would be as steep as it was for Adam Cianciarulo. And I got to tell you, if he is working on his broadcasting skills to succeed Ricky Carmichael in the booth, and quite frankly, I really hope that this happens. Let's just say that the sport of Supercross and motocross will go in an upward direction. Because anybody will be better than RC in the booth. Because there are times where I thought Ricky was getting better, and then somewhere down the line, he would say something that would send him back to square one in my book. Nobody's ever going to top David Bailey, and I don't think anyone's going to top Denny Stevenson either. And by the way, shout out to Denny Stevenson. He was released from the hospital following that road rage incident. Unfortunately, I've been on the wrong side of that too, but fortunately, I have not been in the hospital either. Most of the time, it's just verbal lashing, especially if it was a mistake on my part. So, but I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, as far as Ricky's concerned, all he does is speculate and just use really weird comparisons. But when Jeff Emig was running the job as TV analyst, I liked him. Not going to lie to you. Jeff Emig was great. He threw out his opinions. He wasn't afraid to share them. Not like Ricky, who barely even gives an opinion. Because, really, as Cooksey was saying that Emig is kind of too politically correct, I'd rather have someone like him out there than someone like Ricky. Because I don't know how Ricky is still keeping his job, but really, with all the disapproval that he gets from fans, you would think that they would actually look at getting guys like Rick Johnson or Jeremy McGrath or even Damon Bradshaw or David Bailey to return to the booth and just give Ricky the axe. Because am I saying that Ricky should be fired? No. Because part of me feels like Ricky does okay one night, but sucks the next night. Okay? He's just too inconsistent at the color, at the analyst job. David Bailey had that down to a science. Jeff Emig had that down to a science. Denny Stevenson had it down to a science. And I got to tell you, I liked Brock Glover when he called some of the races in 2022. And of course, Grant Langston when he called the races from 2014 on in motocross. But quite frankly, the fact that Langston had not even gotten the first dose of the COVID vaccine really shocked me. I'm not saying that it was a bad thing or it was a wrong thing for him to get it. I was just shocked. Am I saying that he should have gotten it? Yes and no. But, of course, it is everybody's decision. And of course, I like to think the pandemic is behind us. At least all the restrictions are anyway. But still, as far as current situation is concerned, I hope we see Adam Cianciarulo in the booth, because I think that this sport has gone nowhere since Ricky took the helms of the analyst job. And more reasons why I keep saying that getting rid of Jeff Femick was a dick move, in my opinion. See, that's the way I did it. Would I have done a better job at the TV analyst? No. Maybe once or twice I might say something that some people would agree with. But I ain't afraid to share my 2 cents about this and that. Like back in Indianapolis when I kind of said that Roxon was riding a little scared. Okay? That's an opinion, okay? And just the way that he rode was evidence enough. Okay? But still, anyways, AC, congrats on the career. I'm glad I got to see you race. I'm glad you made it through all those injuries. Of course, you didn't have the kind of career that I'm sure you were hoping for, and I'm sure a lot of us were hoping for. But you won a lot of people's hearts when you won the 250 title in motocross in 2019. So good on you, Adam. Enjoy your retirement after the season's over. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. And remember, subscribe. That's how this channel grows. You'll see a recap of the UH softball series against Cal Poly. That's taking place tomorrow and Saturday. And you will see a recap video or videos, depending on how it goes. And you'll see some shots from all 3 games. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. Remember, subscribe, and we'll see you all next time.